Vibe check. What's going on? Trade with traders. It's been a little while since I've uploaded a YouTube video. Sorry about that. It was a busy month between being sick and traveling a lot. Last month, time got away and I definitely neglected the YouTube channel, but I have so many thoughts and stuff written down that I just need to convert over to video. And what better than an evening like tonight to just go out on a little short walk and get some thoughts out into the universe for you guys. It's all about quality over quantity for me personally. So that's why you'll never see me just pumping out videos or shoving out tweets like they're going out of style. That's just not the type of person I am. I very much value quality content over just numbers and getting stuff out there. And for those who know me, you guys know that. So thanks for understanding. But anyways, I've wanted to do this for a while now and just kind of get like a little mini series flowing. Something where like I spend, 5, 10, 15 minutes just going over like a small topic that I see as valuable for like newer traders, or as I'll put it, advice for my younger self. I think that's what I'm going to name the series. I think I'm going to name it Trading Advice for My Younger Self. So if I could go back 5 or 10 years, or I guess 9 years, I've been trading 9 years now. If I could go back even 2 years or 3 years and say something to my younger self, it would be this topic or this topic or this topic. There's just so many things that I could spend time talking to you guys about that I think would save beginner traders or newer traders or even more experienced traders time and I think more importantly for a lot of people, money. But anyways, I'm gonna just hop into it. Skip all the intro stuff. So episode 1, this is it. Episode 1 of Trading Advice to My Younger Self. I've got so many of these ideas written down, but one thing that I was thinking this evening in particular, because I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and in fact yesterday also, about this particular topic. And the topic is options contracts. How to trade them, how do I trade them, how should newer traders be trading options. And options are very interesting when it comes to being a newer trader, because as a newer trader, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. Just studying equities and common stock by itself is a beast by itself. If you talk about getting in options on top of that as a newer trader, man, you're going to be on system overload very, very quickly. So the first piece of advice that I would give my younger self when it comes to options trading is don't feel like you have to get into options trading right off the bat. Don't get FOMO. It's very easy to go online and see, people posting screenshots of, 1,000% gain or a 500% gain or stuff like that. The truth is that doesn't really happen that often. I think Twitter, FinTwit, Instagram, wherever people are posting this stuff, YouTube, the 1,000%ers and stuff like that, it happens obviously, but it's far and few in between. And the truth is that when you see those, more often times than not, it was a pretty exceptional high risk, high reward type of trade. Something I personally don't really teach, just because I err on the side of as risk-free as you could possibly make trading. So yeah, I think that's just advice 1. Don't feel like you need to get into options right away. But if you are inclined to get into options, which many of you will probably ignore advice number 1 and skip straight to advice number 2. It's like, Matt, come on, man. Everybody's trading options. Of course I want to learn options. I want you to learn options too. I think learning options is incredibly lucrative for a number of reasons. But just don't feel like you need to rush into it, I guess is what I'm saying. Take your time, ease into it. Bit of advice number 2, and I think this is something that even advanced traders, experienced traders will overlook, is trading, or I guess which strike to be trading. And this was the specific topic that I thought about, or that I was asked a question about this today and yesterday, or maybe it was the other day, but I get asked this question a lot too, because for me, I treat options a lot more unique than a lot of people. So, and this might even be something that a lot of people have never even attempted to do before, because it's super unique and it's pretty unconventional, but that is trading options at kind of an intrinsic value base. So what exactly does that mean? So if I see Nvidia stock is trading at 195, and the options contracts, the premiums for the 190s for the end of the week are trading at $6. That means that those 190 contracts are trading with about $1 worth of premium, right? Maybe, 10 or 20% premium. They're pretty close to their intrinsic value, right? A lot of times when I'm scaling into an options position, I'm scaling into that position with this kind of intrinsic value type of scale-in. I think a lot of people, and this is where I get to the part of the advice for my younger self, because I know 5 years ago, when I first got started in options, I would scale everything. The entire position would be scaled in to something out of the money that was cheaper. And this is when you get into the psychology about it, because psychologically, when you look at an options chain and you see an options contract that's trading for $5 or $10 premium versus something that's trading at $1 or perhaps 50 cents or something like that, especially newer traders, you're going to look at that and you're going to think, well, why would I pay $5 or $10 worth of premium when I could pay $1 or fractions of $1, and I could get 5 or 10 times the number of contracts? Well, the problem with this style of scaling in is that you have to, and the style that I'm speaking about, of course, is out of the money. If you're scaling into contracts that are out of the money, you're scaling into an options contract that has every single Greek playing into effect. So every Greek is going to affect you. Whereas the style that I've adapted to when I'm scaling into options contracts is scaling into intrinsic value. So for me, the math is pretty straightforward. I don't need to worry about gamma or theta. I don't have time decay. I don't have anything that I need to worry about, because I'm scaling in at intrinsic value. And there's plenty of people out there that are way better explaining the Greeks to you than I am. I'm not here to pretend like I'm some guru at explaining all the Greeks, all the options Greeks to you. Obviously I'm familiar with them, but I don't use them. I don't use them as calculations when trading them, because for the most part, I'm trading intrinsic value. What intrinsic value, scaling in with intrinsic value does is it makes the math super easy. So if stock is trading at 195 or 196 and I'm scaling in the 190 strike and the premium is at 5 or 6, I'm essentially scaling in at intrinsic value. The math is simple. It's made easy. I don't need to think about all these Greeks in my head and do all these super fancy calculations. The math is simple. When you're scaling in to something that's out of the money, you have to consider, okay, if I'm wrong, that contract sinks quickly. When you're wrong, you are wrong quick. And this will be reflected very easily in your P&L. And this is something that newer traders are kind of programmed to do. And I found this to be true in just about every case. Every time a newer trader or a trader, with a smaller account perhaps, is attempting to play options contracts, they shy away from that intrinsic value strategy because, they're a bit more expensive. Obviously, you're putting more money up front, but the good part about putting up the more money up front for that more expensive premium is that you don't have to worry about the Greeks. And, if I could go back 5 years when I first started doing options, man, I can't tell you how many times I lost just stupid amounts of money, stupid trades, because I was scaling in to some wildly out of the money, inexpensive, but wildly out of the money and almost no chance that it was ever going to be successful type of contract, just because I would look at it and I would be like, oh, it's cheap. And I'm not saying that there aren't times when scaling into something out of the money is appropriate. I do it frequently. And I'm not going to touch too much on this because that's not the point of this video, but one example of this would be kind of anticipating range. So a good example would be like I think it was about a week or two ago at this point, something like Amazon gets to that flat top right around 3,500. If you can kind of anticipate a range based on historical data, you can kind of think okay, 3,500, it's the breakout point. If I scale into like 3,550s, this thing has range to get up to 3,650, something like that. That's the kind of example when I will play something out of the money. I can anticipate the range a little bit, but again, I can anticipate the range and scale in, and then, as it goes up, I scale out. But again, A, not the point of this video. B, the core position is always going to be in something in the money, as close to intrinsic value as makes sense. I can't tell you how much money this probably would have saved me years ago when I first started trading. And it's a style that those within the Trade with Traders community have started to adopt, or at the very least, they're started to understand, because it's a concept that's pretty new, or maybe it's not new, but it's unique because you don't often hear about people scaling into an options contract this way. And really, just another way of thinking about it is that it's just a cheaper way to play common stock, right? That's kind of the way I think about it. So in summation, when scaling into an options play, a swing trade, etc., I'm scaling in as close to intrinsic value as makes sense per the strikes. And then if and when I can start anticipating, that car was booking it. If and when I can start to anticipate some kind of range, that's when I might consider playing something out of the money. But again, in summation, long story short, for those who are new to trading options, you might have a small account. You might think to yourself, hey, this out of the money contract is, I only have to pay 50 cents for a contract versus paying $5 for at the money or $10 for intrinsic value. It makes sense on paper because you're spending less money to get more contracts, but in reality, more oftentimes than not, you're probably going to end up being wrong. And being wrong when you're at intrinsic value is going to be a lot more forgiving for your portfolio than being wrong with something out of the money. So yeah, this took me years to figure out. It's not something I figured out overnight either. It's not a strategy that I just perfected all of a sudden. This was something I very much had a lot of trial and error with. It's still something that I have trial and error with today. It's ongoing. But yeah, I think it saved me a good bit of headache, not having to worry about all the Greeks and stuff. And again, this isn't a risk-free strategy. There's no such thing as a risk-free strategy, but this strategy, and there have been times where I have intrinsic value, maybe the contracts that I'm playing are $5 in the money or $7 in the money. And then all of a sudden there's a big gap down and I have to, sell for a loss right at the open. It obviously still happens. That's why I'm saying this isn't a risk-free strategy. There's no such thing as a risk-free strategy. My goal with this video, however, is to show you that there are inherently more risky strategies and more risky approaches. And one of those inherently more risky approaches is scaling into every single options contract as if it was, this total 100% chance that you're going to be right. And the funny part is when you're scaling into something out of the money and inexpensive, unless you're like nailing that timing, you're probably going to be wrong. So yeah, I think it's an important concept to talk about, and I very much enjoy sharing these types of trading techniques because I know they've helped me, and I have no doubt in my mind that they will help some of you. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's going to be a lot more where this came from. I'm going to call this series something like the trading advice to my younger self. I like that. Trading advice to my younger self. And that's it. That's the video. Peace and love, guys. I'll be back real soon. Take care.